New York Times has done any sort of critical reporting of Joe Biden. What they're doing is giving the illusion that they might somehow be remotely objective. And of course the White House is upset. Nobody wants to be told the emperor has no clothes. It's been clear since Joe Biden decided to run for president that he is in a steep cognitive decline. If you can watch his interview on, I believe the show is The Circus, talking about Anthony Weiner's laptop just a few days before the 2016 election to when he announced to where he is now, you can see somebody that should be not allowed out in public. I mean, this is elder abuse by the people that have put him up there, and the fact that the New York Times has reported about it slightly is upsetting the White House should be no surprise to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, look, the bottom line is suddenly some people in the media have begun to start watching and reporting about all of these leaks in this administration and this president. And I have to believe that the reason you're seeing a story in Politico titled "Biden's brother used his name to promote a hospital chain, then it collapsed," or the Well, Michael, it's just incredible. $53 million is what the New York leadership is going to be issuing to illegal migrants. It comes out to $10,000 apiece. But why wouldn't that just spike even more people coming there? And what is with these dance moves?
Well, Maria, to be fair to the NYPD, they also have a rugby team, a hockey team, a softball team. And it is not the police officers' fault that the communists in charge have ruined the state and ruined the city. Right? It's the what else are they going to do at work? They're not allowed to arrest people. They're not allowed to lock people up. Anytime they do anything, they have no more immunity if somebody gets hurt in the process of assaulting them. So they've really ruined it from that standpoint. And then this migrant situation, good way to save money. Deport these people. That's a great way to save money instead of paying them to come here. Your tax dollars are paying for Venezuelan gangs to come here to steal, to beat people up, and to assault police officers, and then to give the middle finger to everybody that has a problem with it at the end of it. It is, again, it's not, these young ladies dancing on TV. It's not their fault that the communists in charge of this city and this state are on a one-way mission to destroy everything around them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you put it that way, they've got all these other things, the teams. I don't mind. I like the idea that they have other things, releases for people, for the NYPD in terms of dance moves. But now is not the time to be focused on this when we are watching the illegals beat up NYPD people, okay? Officers getting beaten up in Times Square near these migrant shelters. It's happening over and over again, over and over again.
It's just disgusting what they've done to the greatest city in the world. I mean, you talk about the communists and their useful idiots. Bill de Blasio fits both of those boxes. I mean, it's breathtaking and it's unbelievable. Just think of where we were 10 years ago, how clean this city was, how safe this city was. The thought of something like this happening just 10 years ago is mind-boggling that anything like this would ever happen in New York City, and now it's a daily occurrence.
Yeah. What do you think, Krisha?
I mean, and the fact that there are no limits as to this program that Eric Adams put forward initially,
We've got to talk about the banks, Mike, because Capital One has agreed to acquire Discover Financial Services in a $35 billion all-stock deal. This merger is important. It's moving the stocks. It will create the largest U.S. credit card company by loan volume, Mike. They're going directly after American Express right here in terms of market share. Discover Financial up 15% right now. Mike, your reaction to this deal announced this morning, confirmed last night.
Yeah, this is a fantastic deal for Capital One. So Capital One's historic strength has been serving the lower part of the credit spectrum and avoiding loan losses and write-offs. Okay, Discover Financial has had substantial loan loss reserves every single quarter for like the last 5 or 6 because the consumer on the bottom end is getting destroyed, right? And that doesn't always show up in a lot of the headline data, but subprime auto loan default rates are at the highest level ever. So what you're going to see here in this deal is now the 6th largest bank by deposits in the world, the 3rd largest credit card company in terms of transaction fees. So this is a spectacular deal for Capital One to get their own payment processing network to add to their portfolio, and it's a nice time for them to come after Discover when they are at their weakest. So I think it's a spectacular deal for Capital One going forward.
All right, we want to check the health of the banking sector, but so far it feels okay, even though people are worried about office space, Mike.
Yeah, look, that's a regional bank and small local bank problem. This will continue to stick with us, but these commercial real estate loans are extraordinarily profitable. So as long as the loan losses and the defaults are spread out over time, it will not make an impact. If there are a lot of them simultaneously, then you're going to start to see some more banks go under.
Understood. All right, we got to jump. Great conversation, everybody. We so appreciate all of you. Shelby McFadden, Walter Todd, thank you for joining the conversation. Mike, you're with us all morning, and we're grateful. We're just getting started this hour. Quick break, and then Joe Biden is... It's even bigger than that. I mean, what about the danger around his lack of response to communist China? I want to point out what's going on in San Francisco right now, because look at this. This is Kelly Wong. Okay, she's not an American citizen. She cannot legally vote in this country. However, guess what she was just signed in for? She is now on the San Francisco Elections Commission. How is this possible that she is on the San Francisco Elections Commission? This Chinese woman, Kelly Wong, she can't even legally vote in this country. They did the entire ceremony in Chinese. Mike.
Maria, just when you think New York City is the stupidest city in terms of destroying itself in the United States, here comes San Francisco from the top rope to make it look even worse. This is unbelievable. How can a non-citizen hold any public office in the United States? Even if you're a green card holder, even if you're here on a work visa, this is absolute insanity. It shows you just how much the left hates America. They don't even want Americans sitting in positions of power. But Joe Biden, I mean, look, when you have a son who has no private equity experience, a debilitating crack habit, and gets a sole mandate for a private equity fund with no private equity experience, and your family makes between $20 and $50 million, many of which the companies from this private equity fund you still have stakes in. What do you expect? I mean, Joe Biden, and like to touch on our previous topic, it's not like 20 years ago when Joe Biden had all his facilities, he was capable of leading this country. Okay, and now you're in severe mental decline, right? He has been in the Senate for one reason, and that's to extrapolate as much money from his position of power for himself and his family, and that hasn't stopped.
Yeah, I mean, it's also indicative of the fact of the Chinese Communist Party having infiltrated San Francisco. And they have. Here's the quote from Kelly Wong in this piece as she is getting sworn in Chinese. The White House writes Joe Contra, Mike.
Yeah, look, this is an abject disaster. And, it's the first time in my lifetime, and maybe yours as well, well, we have no idea who's running the country because it's clearly not Joe Biden, right? Like it's clear that he's not doing anything. He has multiple days in a row where there's nothing on his schedule. So who's pulling the strings and who's pulling the trigger, right? It's always been a conspiracy theory that there's some men in black suits in the back telling the president what to do. Well, I think now that's looking a little bit more like reality.
Yeah. Meanwhile, that's not the only thing that Joe Biden is ignoring. How about all these China in terms of choosing his vice president? He said one thing and one thing only that matters, and that is that person ready to step in, become president at any time? Because, Mike, he said, look, things happen. There are emergencies. I have a feeling that Joe Biden did not use the same criteria when choosing Kamala Harris. It's just my guess here.
Yeah, well, I do not believe that was Joe Biden's criteria. And look, I'll just say this with Nikki Haley. At this point, she's like a suicide bomber on the entire Republican Party. Okay, in addition to repeating every single Dem talking point about Donald Trump, she's only in the race to waste Donald Trump's resources and to slow him down from focusing on the general. And in addition to that, what she's doing and why she has support is she's using the Democrat get out the vote operation. So she's getting independents that are actually Democrats and Democrats who switch party affiliation to vote in the Republican primary. And what this is going to do is dirty up the data for Republicans for the next 2 to 3 election cycles in every state she's run in. Okay, because they're going to send door knockers, mailers, text messages, phone calls to Democrats that will never, ever vote Republican, all for the sole reason of trying to slow down Trump's run to the White House. Okay, this is damage that's going to continue on for possibly a decade that she's doing right now. So it is a disaster. She has no chance or no future in the Republican Party. I actually think she might switch to becoming a Democrat. And in terms of Trump's vice presidential pick, there's a 0.0 chance either Haley or DeSantis will be the vice president. I'd say DeSantis doesn't want to do it. If he wanted to do it, he never would have ran for president. So that's a pretty big impediment. I think it's going to be somebody that's kind of in the inside. My hope is Dr. Ben Carson.
Yeah, it could be Ben Carson. It could be Tim Scott. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Trump's supporters are coming together for the former president. The hot topic coming up after the break is all about Michael Lee. Your reaction to all of this?
Yeah, Maria, this was a communist show trial. Okay, this was a directed verdict, not for everything, but for a lot of it. All right, and for there to be fraud, there has to be a victim. And the alleged victim in this trial not only testified they were thrilled with the business of Donald Trump, but they profited handsomely. Okay, and to go a little deeper into that, okay, real estate, there are multiple ways you can value it. So the assumption that Trump overvalued it is just ludicrous. Okay, you only know the true value of real estate, especially the real estate he was getting loans against, if you sell it, right? So a bank is always going to take a conservative estimate of what they can get in a fire sale. So for them to go after him for this and accuse him of this not only threatens Trump, and for Kathy Hochul to come out and say, oh, you have nothing to worry about doing business in New York, it just goes to show that we have now jumped the Rubicon, and the laws and the equal eyes of justice are a thing of the past in the state of New York. Okay, and like another thing, like you look at this judge and just look at him. I mean, if that was a character in a movie, would you believe that's a real person?
Well, I mean, even more than that, you have to ask yourself why they go to the lengths that they